There it is, and we're here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Cominos, Office Hours with Ben Cominos, here on the Minocqua Brewing Substack. Very excited to be doing this. This is actually my first time doing it with you guys, all by my little lonesome here. So I'm just going to talk for a while we wait for the rest of you guys to come in. Hello to the couple of you that are following so far. I'm Ben Cominos. There, everybody is. Hello. Welcome, Karen, Will, Brenda, Ann, Joyce, Randy, Donald, Kim. Disappointed in me? You sound like my parents. Kenneth, Howard, Elizabeth, Sarah, and so many more. All pouring in. My parents love me. I'm sorry I made that joke. Thank you all for being here. How exciting. This is all very fun. I'll let you guys all trickle in as we get rolling. This is our first time doing this. It's office hours. I'm going to be doing this every Tuesday at 1. Hit a bit of a technical snag. I'm never late. Unfortunately, I am late today. I absolutely love that you guys all showed up. I am the guy who sometimes pisses a couple of you off, and I'm sure others absolutely love it. Fed up with the Democratic Party establishment while acknowledging that the Republican Party has absolutely no path forward to the future. I hope you all are having a fine Tuesday afternoon in your lives, and I want to try this out, see if you guys are into it. I have things that I want to talk about. But I also, my roots are in talk radio. Unfortunately, I lost my gig despite being the highest rated talk show in Northeast Wisconsin. 4 out of 5 books, absolutely demolishing the competition, had 3 times the ratings they did. Unfortunately, it turns out when you're progressive politics, that means that you might struggle a little bit getting a foothold in the talk radio sphere. However, I am big on user interaction. I'm going to be talking about my article and why I believe Francesca Hong is the best path forward, while also still positioning myself as the kind of talk show host that I believe will have the capacity to interview all of the candidates. I actually have Kelda Royce scheduled to go on my Outside the Box show, which some of you, I'm sure, saw for your first time from 9 to 11 today. That's going to be a daily thing on the Minocqua Brewing Company Substack here. Kirk's going to be carrying me at least for the rest of this month, and we'll see if it's in perpetuity or not, but I have a feeling a lot of us are going to get along. Kelda Royce is going to be on my program at 10 a.m. on Monday. So despite the fact that I'm going to be talking to you guys about why I believe Francesca Hong offers the best path forward for the people of Wisconsin, I most certainly am not closing the door, nor am I closing my mind to anybody else that is running for office as of right now. As long as this election is on the up and up, I see no reason to be concerned. So there's a little message bar over there on the right-hand side. I'm assuming that's how it looks for all of you as well. Feel free to comment. Introduce yourself. Give me your thoughts. I feel like, let me see, if I do this. No, okay, that doesn't work that way. Is there a way for me to give you guys all the opportunity to just jump on? It doesn't look like that's the case. That's fine. We'll just do it verbally for right now, and I'll see if this option exists later. Vocalize your opinions, though. If not, that's fine. I'm down to talk to you for the next half hour, 45 minutes, until I run out of shit to say, realistically. And I hope you guys are here for it. And we're going to be doing this office hours every Tuesday at 1 p.m. So looking forward to getting to know a lot of you all in the chat as it stands right now. And without further ado, how about we just get into it? By the way, just to give you guys some indication, if you weren't here during the morning show, here's some of my decorations as I'm building my studio. Here's also some of my decorations. This is basically the best combination of how I can describe who I am as a political talk show host. So if you see this and you're like, oh, I have a feeling I'm going to like this guy, you are absolutely right in your assessment. So with that, let's as Kirk's texting me while I'm doing the show, like situational awareness sometimes, you know. So if you didn't get a chance to read my article, I essentially highlighted, as I oftentimes do during those when writing those articles, old guy pissed, welcome. It's like it's like you're from a different country. If I were a MAGA, I'd assume you were writing from somewhere in the Middle East because you have your verb an adjective or whatever the hell it is. It's backwards, right? Your conjugation. So, and thank you for the follow, whoever's in here that decided to follow me just now. I appreciate that very much. So, I do a show that essentially focuses on what I refer to as the duopoly, the uniparty. The fact that the Republican Party is obviously the worst of the two options, but at the same time, the Democrats really aren't doing a whole hell of a lot in the world of convincing people that aren't political diehards to show up and vote for them. Now, I myself am a big believer in harm reductionalist or harm reductionalism. I'm a harm reductionalist. I voted for Harris. I think she was a piece of trash. I think she was forced upon us by a Democratic establishment that knew that there is a fervor for progressive politics in America. And rather than allowing that to just transpire organically, they decided they would rather kneecap that, put a lackluster candidate in front of you, and hope that enough of us were scared enough by what Donald Trump represented to show up and vote. Turns out that gamble was a bit off base, and unfortunately, now we're going to have to deal with the mass Virgin Army for the foreseeable future, aka ICE, until we can get to 2028. And what really sucks about that is that I'm not convinced the Democrats have learned any lesson from that moment. But more on that another time, maybe. Let's focus on the immediate future. The only gubernatorial candidate that I was able to get on my radio show before having it ripped away from me was Francesca Hong. We spoke for about a half an hour, and as I kind of wear on my sleeve, I absolutely am an advocate for the policies that she is championing. It's I've told this to Kirk before, but it's where I think we separate the most. Is I am the traditional idea of left wing populism. I believe the Trump administration has taken the term populism, made it a bad word, made it a negative. I do a show that is people focused, a show that highlights that if it weren't for all of you listening to me, myself, and everybody else in this community, minus the 1%, the economy that we've all come to know and love would not operate. When the CEO of Starbucks is paying himself hundreds of millions of dollars and Starbucks is generating roughly $9 billion a year, and Starbucks employees have to fight for $15 an hour for what they do, if the CEO of Starbucks is so impressive, he should just fire everybody and generate $9 billion on his own, since he seems to be worth so much more than the average employee. If you're sitting here and you can sense the sarcasm in my voice, and you can tell that without the working class, this entire little American experiment falls flat on its face. If you are resonating with the way I'm talking, welcome home. My name's Ben Cominos, and we're going to get along just fine. Now, Francesca Hong, I believe, embodies that mindset to a T. Now, and I'm assuming most of you, are not MAGA. You're not MAGA in any sense of the imagination. And if you've made it this far into this conversation, then I'm willing to bet you're not blue MAGA either. If Francesca Hong gets nominated and she ends up failing, or she ends up misrepresenting who she is as a person, believe you me, I'll be the first person to call that crap out, because while it's obvious during the Republican Party, back when I had a show in 2022, 23, and 24, part of that time while the Democrats had a trifecta, I wasn't afraid to say, I voted for Joe Biden. This economy is not our friend. Why is he telling me Bidenomics is working? I was the first one to do that stuff. Trump is now in office. All the MAGAs that agreed with me during the Biden years started believing that I was too one-sided on the other side of that, just to show you the mental acumen that we are going against in the Republican Party when we're having these kind of examples of political discourse. As cool as it was being a lefty in AM talk radio, I call myself, as I said in the article, a bona fide lefty. As cool as it is being that kind of person, um, it really is frustrating that you can build these relationships with so many MAGAs, have them hear you, have them understand that you are frustrated with the Biden presidency, and then watch them all immediately turn around, tuck tail, and pretend that Donald Trump is the best thing and truly is ushering in the golden era of prosperity. Some people will be unreachable, and if you can't come to grips with that, I feel like we're going to be in a perpetual state of chasing our own tails surrounding electability, as the centrists love to say. More on that in a moment. Um, Francesca Hong isn't trying to placate the mythical MAGA voter that is looking for a better economy. She is speaking to the stuff that I talked about on my show that made me the highest rated talk show in Northeast Wisconsin for the better part of 4 years. She is talking about affordability, not as a buzzword, but as an actual problem facing Americans with actual ideas on how to fix them. It's not a particularly difficult problem to address, in my opinion, because with affordability comes record profits. With record profits comes a cost of living that more and more of us can no longer afford. If you are new to who I am, I had $60,000 in student debt when I graduated college. I no longer have debt. I won the job lottery in my 20s. I was selling concrete optimization software. Not glamorous, but paid obscenely well. And I was able to get out of debt. I bought a duplex that I still own in my hometown of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. Currently, I'm renting it out now, actually kicking around the idea of selling and just giving myself a little bit of a fiscal breathing room as I try and figure out where my career is going to take me from here. I am not the norm for people under 40, and realistically, I could probably bump that up to most people under 50. My experience is not universal. I am very lucky to have come out of this moment, and I see some of the people chiming in here from my own personal account, my own personal pages. I appreciate you guys being here as well. Um, I'm not the norm, and I do a show for the people. The system is designed, let me say it this way. The system is designed for me to sit here in front of you all and tell you all what a badass I am. That if only people my age worked harder or were as smart as I am or as had the same level of stick-to-itiveness, they all could achieve what I could achieve. And I am here to tell you that I am a white, straight dude that never got arrested, that never accidentally knocked up his girlfriend, that by and large obviously made mistakes, but never made that big mistake that made me unemployable or set me back from a fiscal perspective. And I still, after being laid off a week and a half ago, realized how quickly I would be to out on the street if I didn't have a safety net of friends and family and other people like Kirk and the Minocqua Brewing Company who are willing to pay me to do this gig while I figure out where my next steps are going to take me. I say all of that to say, um, when I hear Francesca Hong talk, she talks to the type of people that I talk to. She talks about the fact that most people cannot get by in this economy. And the reason why, the main driving force why, while Democrats tell you that it's Trump's tariffs and the war, and that is driving costs up. I'm not a jackass. That's driving costs up. But I'm also not going to sit here and pretend that everything was peaches and cream during the Biden administration. The reason the cost of living has been going so high over the course of the last 40 or 4 years, 6 years, my bad, is because of corporate greed. And any candidate who is not willing to highlight the record profits year in and year out that have been exhibited by the major, like the seven major corporations that run our entire lives, um, any politician not willing to speak to those concerns is not taking the role seriously anymore. If you missed my Outside the Box show, which is on from 9 to 11, which is carried on Kirk's Substack, as well as, my YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok page, um, I talked about how the Democrats are getting ready to run on children's safety online. If you're listening to me and you're a parent, I'm sure that's something that resonates with you. If you're listening to me and you want to see the whole MAGA movement get put to bed, that should piss you the hell off that that's the decision the Democratic Party has decided to make one of their focal points 4 months before we kick off into election mode here. The DSA, progressives, even socialists to a certain extent, speak to a type of economic politics that resonates with Americans under 40 specifically, because I'm going to assume a lot of you are boomers in the audience, and I love you guys for being here. There's an unfortunate reality a lot of you are going to have to come to grips with if you haven't already, that sometimes my listeners get a little bent out of shape about. Billionaires were taxed between 70 and 91% while you were building a life. You didn't call that socialism, you called that America. Stock buybacks were illegal, so instead of funneling excess profits into the stock market, you it was either funneled into employee pay, or it was funneled back into the system, or it was used to keep prices low. State funds were applied to colleges to keep college affordable, which was rescinded. The government stayed out of the way of unions. Antitrust laws were enforced. All of these are things that were happening up until 1983 that are no longer happening. And when people like me, when people like Francesca Hong, when people like Bernie Sanders, when people like Zohran Mamdani show up and start to advocate for these kind of things, while they self-describe themselves as socialists, a lot of right-wing boomers try to describe that as anti-American or not what America was founded on. And I'm here to tell you that the MAGA movement is based on the idea. What's their slogan? Make America great again. What does that imply? America was once great. It no longer is great, but it could be great again. When was America great, according to them? I'm willing to bet most of them think in either the era during Reagan or the era before Reagan. Is it because of racism, sexism, and homophobia? Maybe. I'm not at a place to comment on that. But what I do know is that they are referencing a time when billionaires were actually held to account. Maybe it wasn't as many billionaires as much as it was 100 millionaires because it was different economics in the 70s, but the principle still applies. So when Francesca Hong comes out there, says, I'm in favor of actually holding the rich to account, and MAGA tries to paint that as a bad, or the centrists try and paint that as something that is unelectable, I'm here to tell you point blank that that's actually what made America great at a time period when the economy was thriving. I recognize there were social issues that absolutely left something to be desired, but I'm saying we keep all that stuff. We still stay nice to the LGBTQ communities. We still stay nice with all the different minority groups. We still make sure that women are getting paid an equal wage commensurate with men. And we also do the tax rates from the 40s to the 70s. I don't think it's a particularly complex idea, and I think it's intentionally being misrepresented as radical or something that can't win in a purple state intentionally, because MAGA and centrist Democrats really have a lot more in common than I think they're willing to admit. And the only major difference, of course, being that Democrats in the center are nice to different identity groups, and Republicans vilify them so that their voters, who are also frustrated with the economics, turn around and blame immigrants and trans people instead of the obvious causes behind their problems. I'm interested in your thoughts. I have more ideas, but I'm going to keep making this offer. Type into the message. Type me a message. Interact with this show. I want you guys to share. Tell me I'm a jackass. Tell me I have no idea what I'm talking about. Tell me that there is no blue MAGA. Tell me that you're sick and tired of me conflating centrist with MAGA. Or tell me that I'm spot on. Tell me that you've been waiting your entire life to hear people talking this way and you're so happy that somebody's willing to say it. Throw your messages in there and I'll read them out, and it'll help facilitate the conversation even further than we already have. On top of this, I describe myself. You know how people tell you they think they're being principled? They say, I'm a fiscal conservative, but a social liberal. Meaning, yeah, you Democrats don't understand big boy economics like I do, but I at least understand that the Republican Party could be nicer to different minority groups. The way I describe myself is like this. I am a fiscal progressive and a social libertarian. I don't even affiliate with the two major parties. Do what you want, put whatever you want in your body, live your life however you see fit, just don't bother anybody else, and tax the shit out of the rich. Those are the two philosophies upon which I focus on things. So obviously, when Francesca Hong is the only candidate out there with a game plan for data centers, that catches my eye. I am anti-flock. I am anti-data center. To be frank, I am anti-AI. And I realize that that makes me a bit behind the times, or maybe a bit of a Luddite, as the kids love to call me. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I do not like that it seems that we have a Congress comprised mostly of people that needs their staff to help them use their smartphone, and we're supposed to believe that these people have the capability to regulate AI data centers and flock cameras in a way that'll protect our civil liberties and, most importantly, our Fourth Amendment rights against illegal search and seizure. And I'm sorry, I don't. as we watch one dude in Congress just disappear for a month and no one even really gave a crap. Dianne Feinstein and Mitch McConnell are walking around not even knowing what day it is, and we're supposed to believe that something reasonable is happening there. Get me the hell out of here with that. So I see Francesca Hong come out with a game plan for data centers. Nobody else does. And for the record, I came prepared for this. When I had a show, I had audio that I could play for you guys right now. Unfortunately, you're going to just have to take my word for it. And I hope that my reputation is good enough that you know that I know what the hell I'm talking about when I talk to you guys about these things. There is a soundbite of a Microsoft lawyer, a lawyer for the company Microsoft, under oath, under threat of perjury, being asked about the economic value provided by data centers. And she hems and haws, adds a bunch of extra words, and ultimately says once the data centers are built, there's no longer much economic benefit to the majority of people living in that town. So stop for a second with me here. They're going to use up all of our water. They emit excess carbon into the air, and I'm old enough to remember when liberals pretended to care about carbon emissions. They make the loudest freaking noises you've ever heard in your life. And on top of that, they don't actually provide much economic growth outside of the unions who will be contracted to build it for about 3 to 6 months, and then they will be moving on to their next project. Then a handful of people keep it running, and I'm going to be real, most people in America probably aren't qualified to do the things that are going on in those kind of buildings. So you have all these factors that people are nervous about, and here's why I hate that. I don't care about any of that. I do. I don't want to sound naive. I do care. I want there to be economic development. I want to make sure that the fresh water is still drinkable and not used to make a picture of me getting drunk with a bear or something. I want to monitor our carbon footprint, and we already are doing a bad enough job with everything else that we do that I don't think we need to add another source into the equation here. I'm with all that. The reason I don't want the data centers is because it very evidently to me is part of the digital prison that our government is building for us, combined with Palantir, flock cameras, and now AI, all being used in a predictive measure. And if you think I'm making that up, I'm pretty sure I can get away with using the country's actual name since I'm just on Substack right now. Israel is partnered with flock cameras and Palantir, and they are using them to spy on Gazans, and they are determining before any crimes are committed who is showing signs of radicalization, who is showing signs of joining Hamas. And then upon making that decision, they go and arrest those people before they committed any crimes. Straight up Minority Report status. And the way they store all that data is in the data centers. So in a country, and like it's easy for me to scare you guys with this, right? It's all, and I'm, for the record, I never do fear mongering content. I use scare ironically. I'm here to tell you that as long as we band together and use people power, we can deal with this, but we got to be informed. So it's easy for Democrats to scare you with the idea of needing flock cameras and or excuse me, it's easy for the Republicans to scare you because you see it as they're going to identify you as Antifa before you've committed any crimes. We're already seeing it happen in Minnesota and in Texas. Like 9 people or something ended up getting 450 years combined in prison for basically the equivalent of handing out magazines in front of an ICE detention facility. So it's not even like we really have to speculate as to where things are going. But the Trump administration can sell the MAGA voters saying we're going to use all of this excess surveillance to catch all damn Mexicans and then not do anything else with it. If Kamala Harris were in office, the exact same things would be happening, but instead of telling you that it was in the name of catching Mexicans, Muslims, and Antifa, they would be telling you that it's in the name of catching the Proud Boys, catching the 3%ers, catching the neo-Nazis, and holding them to account. The powers that be know what buzzwords to use to get you on board with agreeing to surveil yourselves. I am instinctively anti-surveillance. I currently live in Northeast Wisconsin. I'm in the Menasha Appleton area. I have been attending flock camera meetings on a 2 to 3 weeks, once every 2 to 3 weeks basis. And those meetings are attended by between 35 and 50 people. And these are meetings that normally don't draw a crowd of 3 people. There's over 50 people there. One person will show up in favor of flock cameras. Everybody else wants them to be taken down. The mayor of Neenah and the chief of police in Neenah both sit in those meetings. The chief of police says, well, this is just a fraction of a percent of people against it. You're really not going to change our mind. The mayor of Neenah said we were an echo chamber, saying that we all showed up there with the same opinions. Meanwhile, my Bernie Sanders, Francesca Hong ass, was sitting next to a polyamorous woman with multiple spouses on my right and a guy in a Fox Valley libertarian shirt on his left. Something tells me that other than flock cameras, the three of us probably would have struggled to come to grips with a lot of other things that we agreed upon, but we were anti-surveillance. The only candidate who's taking surveillance seriously and is taking data centers seriously as of June 30th, 2026 is Francesca Hong. You disagree with me? That's absolutely fine. I still welcome anybody to use the comments who's comfortable to do so. I promise I don't bite. Um, but that sticks out to me as a main reason why we should be calling this stuff out and stopping these things from happening, and most importantly, electing people who bring it to the forefront. Those two things are my main issues, and I always razz Kirk about this because he's very big on having a game plan for if Donald Trump tries to steal the election, which right on. Everybody should have a game plan. I have a game plan too. My game plan is have candidates at the top of the ticket who are just going to beat the shit out of whatever bullshit Republican they put up there and absolutely run ruckshot over them. Tom Tiffany voted for Trump's tariffs. He voted for the Iran war. He said nothing about housing costs. He watched the cost of healthcare skyrocket for all of us. I could go on and on. He doesn't have much of a leg to stand on in terms of accomplishments in the House, especially during Trump 2.0. The idea that any candidate in the Wisconsin Democrats right now couldn't beat this guy is a laughable assertion. To me, it's all about driving turnout. Centrism and moderate Democrats suppress turnout. Telling people that only so much can be done suppresses turnout. You know what drives turnout? Getting people inspired by the change that you are bringing. And as of today, I only see one candidate bringing it. Again, Kelda Royce is going to be on my show Monday. I intend to have Sarah Rodriguez, Mandela Barnes, David Crowley. I'm going to get all of them to agree to come on my show, and we're going to hear from all of them. You can also go on my YouTube page and see my Francesca Hong interview. It's right there on the front of the page if you haven't already. We're going to win this election in November. There's going to be a lot of attention, and you're going to see a lot of centrist Democrat hand-wringing around the idea of electability and whether or not Wisconsin is ready for a progressive. If you didn't read my article, if you didn't see my show earlier this morning, then allow me to say in no uncertain terms, a purple state does not mean that it is a moderate state. It means you got a bunch of people cheering on the masked Virgin Army, taking the life of Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and so many others. Or you've got a bunch of people that are saying we need to start taxing the rich because it sure as hell isn't trickling down on us in any kind of meaningful way. Very few people are like, you know what? The status quo is working for me, and I just don't want to rock the boat very much. That isn't a very large population of people, and that population of people is shrinking every year because as the generations that benefited from government assistance and government investment in their lives continue to age out of the economy and eventually, unfortunately, pass away, the rest of us who have only known rugged bootstrap individualism and Reaganomics find ourselves holding the bag, struggling to figure out our path forward in this mess and looking for a politician that's offering solutions. It's why Mamdani's popular. It's why Platner's popular. It's why El Said's popular. It's why Rahman's popular. And it's ultimately why Hong is going to end up being popular. And you can take that to the bank, assuming she is able to get out of the primary and there's not any garbage taking place behind the scenes at the Wisconsin Democratic Party. But we'll see how that kind of transpires as we get closer to August 11th here. Just about 6 weeks before the primary. Perfect time for a talk radio station to lay off their highest rated talk show host as they're about to get the national spotlight thrust upon them as they move forward. So, I mean, I'm down to hang out for a couple more minutes. Do any of you guys have any thoughts about what I'm talking about? You think I'm nuts? You think I'm spot on? Are these messages just not set up? Is that the problem? Like if I say, "Hey, everybody," does that work? Can I send that? Yep, I can. So, any thoughts on matters surrounding this? I can hang out for a couple more minutes here, but by and large, that's what my article's about. That's the way I'm viewing the Democratic Party right now. And to me, Francesca Hong governorship, putting her on the top of the ticket is exactly how you push back against any kind of MAGA skullduggery surrounding the elections going forward. I want to say shitbaggery, but I feel like I cussed too much on this podcast already. So what are you guys thinking? You have any thoughts on the matter? You guys are much quieter than my outside the box community. I got to tell you that they don't shut the hell up. A couple of them are in the chat, so I'm kind of razzing them a little bit there. Um, but I hope this was an enjoyable thing for you. As I mentioned, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday from 1 to 1:30, although I reserve the right to go until like 1:45, depending on what the topic is. I'm sure Kirk will join me for a couple of them from time to time, just for a little bit of back and forth. But by and large, I think we got some good things going on in Wisconsin, and I am looking forward, and I will have an article put together for Minocqua as I get more of these interviews. I'm going to talk to Kirk about it and have the links to my YouTube page in the article for all of the interviews that you guys will have access to kind of provide you with some information because, stupid me, I thought being a level-headed interviewer would make me stand out in um, talk radio, but it did for the record. But it turns out that that wasn't what some people wanted. Some people wanted me to just be raw, steaming anger towards minority populations for existing. And unfortunately for the talk radio sphere, that's just not going to work out that way. But I appreciate you guys all hanging out and listening to me rant for a half an hour here. We'll call these Ben's rants going forward instead of office hours, maybe. Um, but hopefully you guys all have a good rest of your day. I will be live outside of Minocqua. I do evening shows as well from 7 to 8 p.m. on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, my own personal pages. Again, my name's Ben Cominos. It's just Dominoes with a C. Here, that's me right here. We do evening lives. They're much more laid back than my morning show or even this was. There's a little more silence at times. I kind of let the chat dictate the way the conversation goes. Sometimes I have a guest. Hopefully you guys get a little more comfortable interacting with the program. That's kind of when I operate at my best. Not to say that I didn't just kill that, but I just spoke for a half an hour. I don't think I took a breath. But I do appreciate user interaction and your guys' thoughts as well. I'm big on community, I'm big on discourse, and I'm big on finding like minds, looking for solutions to problems that, in my opinion, have kind of existed in our infrastructure for far too long at this point. It's what I refer to as zombie issues, whether it be abortion access, healthcare access. You guys know the drill. You know all the things that one of the 6 conversations that we've been having in perpetuity since before I was born. I'm into putting together a community that's trying to push back against that. So I look forward to getting to know all of you better. I look forward to you guys starting to be interested in chiming in on what we're doing here. I'm going to call it a show here today. I'll be live 7 to 8 Central Time again on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok, and I'll be back on the Minocqua Brewing Substack 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. tomorrow with a rundown of all of the biggest news over the course of the next 24 hours. Don't even know what the show's about yet, so I can't even tease it to you. That's how up to date I like to stay on this show. And I will be slowly building a studio. It's not going to be me sitting on my couch with my Batman blanket and my fuck ice thing. It is going to look more professional as we continue moving along, but baby steps, you know? So thank you all for being here. I'm Ben Cominos. This is Minocqua Brewing Substack. Have a lovely rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to some of you maybe tonight, the rest of you tomorrow morning. Have a good one.